Florida, the Sunshine State, is more than just a vacation paradise. It's a political powerhouse. Every 4 years, all eyes turn to Florida, where the state's votes have the power to decide the next president of the United States. But is Florida still the crucial swing state it once was? Let's find out. Florida's political landscape has always been a microcosm of the nation's, reflecting diverse demographics and shifting political loyalties. The state is a melting pot, home to retirees, Hispanic communities, African Americans, young professionals, and transplants from the north. This diversity has led to unpredictable election results, making Florida a key battleground in presidential races. Let's break down some of the key demographics. Florida's large and diverse Hispanic population, particularly Cuban Americans in South Florida, has traditionally leaned Republican, but recent years have seen growing support for Democrats among younger generations and other Latino groups. Florida's senior population, which skews heavily conservative, plays a significant role, especially in Central Florida's I-4 corridor, a key swing region. Northern transplants bring their political preferences with them, adding to the state's dynamic and sometimes unpredictable electorate. Florida has played a decisive role in several pivotal elections, where the state's electoral votes have tipped the scales. Let's take a closer look at some of these critical moments. The 2000 U.S. presidential election remains one of the most controversial and consequential in American history, and Florida was at the heart of the drama. On election night, November 7, 2000, the nation was glued to television screens as the race between Bush and Gore proved to be extraordinarily tight. Early in the evening, networks initially called Florida for Gore, then retracted the call as more results came in. By the end of the night, the race was too close to call, with Bush holding a razor-thin lead in Florida. With Florida's 25 electoral votes, the presidency hung in the balance. One of the most contentious issues that arose from the 2000 Florida election was the butterfly ballot used in Palm Beach County. The design of the ballot led to widespread confusion among voters, particularly elderly residents. Many voters intended to vote for Al Gore but inadvertently voted for Reform Party candidate Pat Buchanan, whose name was positioned near Gore's on the confusing ballot. Buchanan received an unusually high number of votes in Palm Beach County, a predominantly Democratic area, leading to allegations that the ballot design had cost Gore thousands of votes. In addition to the butterfly ballot, there were numerous reports of other voting irregularities across the state, including issues with voter rolls, malfunctioning voting machines, and disputes over absentee ballots. These issues contributed to the overall uncertainty and controversy surrounding the election results. Given the incredibly narrow margin of Bush's lead, just 1,784 votes out of nearly 6 million cast, the Gore campaign requested a recount in several Democratic-leaning counties. Under Florida law, an automatic machine recount was triggered when the margin of victory was less than 0.5%. This initial recount reduced Bush's lead to just 327 votes. The Gore campaign then requested a manual recount in 4 counties, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and Volusia, where voting irregularities were most prominent. The manual recount process, however, was fraught with challenges, including disagreements over how to count ballots where voter intent was unclear, such as those with hanging chads, partially punched holes, or dimpled chads, indented but not fully punched ballots. As the manual recounts proceeded, legal battles erupted over how the recounts should be conducted, which votes should be counted, and whether the recounts should continue at all. The battle went the whole way to the Supreme Court. In a landmark 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Bush v. Gore that the Florida recounts should be halted, effectively awarding the presidency to George W. Bush. The court's majority opinion held that the varying standards used in the manual recounts violated the Equal Protection Clause, and that there was not enough time to establish uniform standards before the statutory deadline for certifying the election results. As a result, Bush's certified lead in Florida, just 537 votes, stood, and he won Florida's 25 electoral votes, securing the presidency with 271 electoral votes to Gore's 266. In 2012, Florida once again proved its importance when Barack Obama narrowly defeated Mitt Romney in the state, securing his re-election. The win was attributed to high turnout among Hispanic voters and strong support from African American communities. Donald Trump's unexpected victory in Florida in 2016 highlighted the state's shifting dynamics. Trump's appeal to white working-class voters and his strong performance in rural counties offset Clinton's gains in urban areas, delivering a critical win for the Republicans. So what makes Florida's electorate so diverse and unpredictable? It's the confluence of various factors: the state's large and growing Hispanic population, the influx of retirees, and the mix of urban and rural areas create a complex political landscape. The I-4 corridor, stretching from Tampa to Daytona Beach, is often seen as the key to winning Florida. It's a true battleground within a battleground, where the outcome is determined by razor-thin margins. But here's the twist. In recent years, Florida seems to be swinging more solidly Republican. The 2020 election saw Donald Trump win Florida by over 3 percentage points, a larger margin than expected. The state has also seen a rise in Republican voter registration, particularly in rural areas, while Democratic strongholds in Miami-Dade have shown signs of weakening. Governor Ron DeSantis' decisive re-election in 2022 and the GOP's strong performance in statewide races suggest that Florida may no longer be the swing state it once was. Governor Ron DeSantis' 2022 victory was not just a win, it was a political landslide. Let's take a closer look at the details of that victory. DeSantis won the 2022 gubernatorial election by a margin of nearly 20 percentage points, defeating his Democratic opponent, former Governor Charlie Crist, by 59.4% to 40%. This margin was one of the largest in recent Florida history, highlighting a dramatic swing in voter sentiment compared to previous elections. To put this into perspective, DeSantis won his first gubernatorial race in 2018 by a razor-thin margin of just 0.4% or about 32,000 votes against Democrat Andrew Gillum. The swing from a 0.4% victory in 2018 to a nearly 20% margin in 2022 represents a significant shift in the state's electorate. Perhaps the most striking aspect of DeSantis' victory was his performance in Miami-Dade County, Florida's most populous county, and a traditional Democratic stronghold. In 2018, DeSantis lost Miami-Dade by over 20 percentage points. However, in 2022 he won the county by around 11 points. This 30-point swing was a historic shift, as it marked the first time a Republican gubernatorial candidate had carried Miami-Dade in 2 decades. DeSantis' improved performance among Hispanic voters was a key factor in his landslide victory. Cuban Americans in South Florida, who have historically leaned Republican, turned out strongly for DeSantis. However, he also made significant inroads with non-Cuban Hispanic voters, including Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans, who traditionally leaned Democratic. DeSantis performed exceptionally well in Florida's rural counties, where his support was overwhelming. Additionally, he dominated in suburban areas, which have been competitive in recent elections. His success in these regions further widened his margin of victory. DeSantis' resounding victory solidified Florida's status as a Republican stronghold, a significant shift from its previous identity as a perennial swing state. The results were seen as a validation of DeSantis' policies, particularly his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, his stance on cultural issues, and his emphasis on law and order. DeSantis' 2022 victory also catapulted him into the national spotlight, fueling his presidential run in 2024. The scale of his win in a state as pivotal as Florida underscored his appeal to a broad base of conservative voters and positioned him as a leading figure in the Republican Party. For Democrats, the 2022 election results in Florida were a wake-up call. The party's struggles to mobilize its base and appeal to a broader electorate in Florida highlighted the challenges it faces in a state that is increasingly leaning Republican. Governor Ron DeSantis' 2022 victory was a defining moment in Florida politics, marking a clear shift in the state's political dynamics and setting the stage for future electoral battles. The swing was not just wide, it was a dramatic realignment that may have lasting implications for both state and national politics. So, is Florida still a swing state, or has it firmly planted itself in the Republican camp? What do you think it would take for Florida to turn blue again? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Florida politics, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos exploring the Sunshine State's unique role in shaping America's political landscape. Thanks for watching.